The Soft Animal of Your Body by CheatsatUNO. Chapter 1. No Matter How Lonely. It's the first night back from the Christmas holiday, and the Great Hall is still lavishly decked out for the tail end of the season, snow fluttering softly from the ceiling before dissolving high enough above the students to not fall into any food or unsuspecting heads. Harry sits between Ron and Hermione, something he started doing, because if he doesn't, Harry immediately becomes a third wheel. Ron is talking around a mouthful of food to Neville about the horror of upcoming potions newts. Hermione's nose is already stuck in a book about Muggle influence on the Ministry of Magic throughout history, Harry's Christmas gift to her. Meanwhile, Harry is pushing his food around his plate, waiting for the table's selection to swap over to dessert. His eyes scan the Great Hall, restless for something. He catches Ginny's eyes from where she is further down the table and gives her a small smile. Although amicable, Harry had been nervous about his place with the Weasleys after their breakup. Much to his relief, Christmas at the Burrow had only been met with a few awkward silences when the two were left alone. Ginny easily returns his smile and goes back to a conversation, and Harry resumes his sweep of the tables. Finally, his attention is caught by the Slytherin table, less filled than it has been in past years. Not many Slytherins have returned after the war, and even fewer have accepted McGonagall's offer of an 8th year at Hogwarts. Towards the head of the table, two familiar students face each other, heads dipped in a deep conversation. Harry can just make out Pansy Parkinson's panicked expression as she hisses something to Blaise Zabini. Missing from the picture is a certain blonde boy, and Harry realizes why he felt off during dinner. Malfoy isn't here. Ever since the start of their 8th year, Harry's made a habit of seeking out Malfoy in the halls and at dinner, not unlike during 6th year. However, this time Harry is watching the Slytherin because he doesn't trust those around him. Harry has seen other students hex and throw insults towards the boy all year long. It makes him slightly sick to watch as Malfoy, who had once been larger than life with an ego to match, quietly withdraws into himself and takes the abuse. Yes, Malfoy deserves some serious comeuppance for how he's acted all his life, but not like this. He's seen Parkinson and Zabini guarding the entrance to the infirmary far too many times for comfort. Harry has long since forgiven Malfoy for his schoolyard bullying. He forgave him when, after he had spoken at the other's trial, Malfoy had uttered a small and genuine, "Thank you." Harry wants to talk to him more now that they have this second chance, but Draco avoids everyone other than Parkinson and Zabini, and even then, he is rarely seen with them outside of meals, where they seemingly ambush him and force to eat. Harry defends Malfoy when he can, but the blonde always seems to slink away before Harry can corner him into a conversation. And having been thoroughly scolded for his behaviour in 6th year, Harry leaves the Marauders map out of the equation, even if his fingers itch to open it every other day. Now, he had the urge to head up to the 8th year common room and take a look, just to catch a glimpse of his name at least. Dinner seems to drag on after Harry's discovery, but eventually, the savoury dishes are swept away and replaced by trays and platters full of sweet desserts, puddings, and cakes. Immediately taking a treacle tart for himself, Harry pauses at the sight of a plate of lemon sickle cakes. It's one of the only desserts he's ever seen Malfoy eat. On impulse, Harry grabs one and wraps it with a napkin before heading back to his new common room. "I didn't think you liked those, mate. Not sweet enough," Ron chimes in, eyeing the cake in Harry's hand. Harry himself doesn't quite know why he grabbed the tart dessert. Harry prefers sweet treats and doesn't like the way the lemon curd makes his lips pucker. You know, I get hungry sometimes at night if I wake up. Didn't think sugar would help me get back to sleep." At the vague mention of Harry's nightmares, Ron gives a terse nod and thankfully changes the subject. Hermione, who had been walking behind them, gently places a hand on his elbow. A smile eases onto his face at the quiet comfort that his friends offer him. Despite their newfound interest in each other, these little moments are sweet reminders that he is still important to them both. Before they could all reach the common room, which is shared amongst all the returning 8th years, regardless of house, Hermione and Ron share a changed glance and sneak off to some foreign corridor for a nighttime snog. The new 8th year dorms are in a short, south-facing tower with an entrance on the 4th floor. Rather than a password or secret knock, the heavy set of double doors open at the casting of a spell, which changes every week. Hermione had been ecstatic and claimed it was a great review tool. Ron and Harry wish that it wasn't so picky about pronunciation and wrist movements. Harry waves goodnight to Ron and Hermione as they leave, only getting an answering wave from the short brunette. Bypassing the groups of students that are lingering in front of the fire and on the sofas, he heads to the room that he shares with Ron. Harry settles into his own bed with a soft sigh. He hadn't seen Malfoy on the way back from dinner or in the common room, but he puts it out of his mind for now. Placing the small, crescent moon-shaped lemon cake on his bedside table and chucking off his robe and top layer of clothes, Harry hopes in vain for a full night of sleep. It's still dark when Harry jerks awake. The last dregs of some vague horror seep into his bones, and he isn't sure whether the chill that settles there is from the dream or the fact that he's kicked off most of his bedsheets while unconscious. The details of the nightmare are quickly fading, and the only sounds are Harry's own panting breaths and Ron's snores from his bed across the room, and a sharp scratching noise next to his head. Harry's hand is already gripped around his wand. After a year on the run, his wand had found a permanent resting place under his pillow at night. Steeling himself, Harry looks to the right, towards the noise that is coming from his nightstand. Oh! In the dark, and without glasses, Harry lays eyes on a small, slender animal that is making quick work of the lemon sickle cake. At Harry's soft word, the creature freezes and swings its head to look at him. Squinting, Harry thinks it looks like a ferret, but before he can confirm anything, the creature scrambles from the table and makes a mad dash for the space under the door. A quick swish and flick lifts the thing into the air and floats it closer. Harry reaches for his glasses, and the darkness around him sharpens slightly, and yes, this is definitely a ferret. Pure white with dark, beady eyes. The closer the ferret comes, the louder it squeaks and chirps in what can only be described as anger. Who do you belong to, little guy? Or girl? I'm not actually sure how to tell with ferrets. The ferret makes another series of rude noises, and Harry chuckles. I don't even think you should be eating cake. I mean, it's not a sweet cake, pretty sour if you ask me. More low squeaks. Harry casts a small lumos, and spots a ring of lemon curd around the ferret's muzzle. Harry really should have gathered that, based on the noises it was making, that the animal would snap at his fingers as he reached to wipe the curd away. It still startles him when the creature's teeth snap near his finger. Fine, fine, Harry mutters, yanking his hand back. He casts a quick cleaning spell. Harry knows his magic can be a bit strong, and now the ferret looks pissed, fur clean but messed up in all different directions. The little animal is still squirming, still floating mid-air in front of Harry. If I let you down, will you run away again? The ferret, of course, doesn't respond, and Harry feels very silly for asking it a question. But eventually, the animal stills and makes a disturbing amount of eye contact with Harry. He cuts the levitation charm and holds out his hand for the ferret to drop into. Having come to some kind of agreement, the ferret remains still in Harry's cupped hands. Using a thumb to test his luck and brush up under his chin, Harry marvels at how soft its fur is. To his surprise, he doesn't receive a bite for his efforts, and instead the ferret freezes for a moment before nuzzling into his affection. So cute. Ouch! Okay, not cute. You're a menace. Does that make you happy? Harry glowers, and, much to Harry's annoyance, the ferret somehow looks smug and resumes rubbing against the thumb it had just bitten. Despite its bad attitude, Harry has to admit that the ferret really is cute. After a few moments, Harry's surprised to find that he's getting tired again. Usually after a nightmare, no matter how small or unmemorable, sleep would evade Harry for the rest of the night. Maybe the odd appearance of the bratty ferret has shocked Harry to the point of driving out the numbing chill that always follows his nightmares. If I put you on my pillow, will you stay? It comes out more wrecked than he had meant it to, more vulnerable. The ferret stops moving, making eye contact again. An uncanny spark of intelligence makes Harry squirm. Before he can do anything, the ferret leaps from his hands to the bed, then to the floor, and escapes under the door. Ditched by a rodent, Harry thinks, with no small amount of deprecation. It takes a while, but Harry eventually manages to drift off into a fitful sleep. A ferret? Hermione tilts her head to the side, pausing in her attempt to organise her bag. They should be heading off to their first class, but Hermione can't seem to find her arithmancy homework. Yeah, a white one. Do we know anyone who owns one? Harry has asked a few people already, but no one knows anything about a pet ferret. He knows it doesn't belong to any of his Gryffindor roommates, so it may belong to a student from one of the other houses. Can't say I remember ever seeing someone with a pet ferret, but that doesn't mean no one does. I'm sure that if it's missing, someone will mention it sooner rather than later. She makes a quiet noise of victory as she pulls free a length of parchment. Hey, Hermione, Harry starts, somewhat reluctantly. She hums, and they both rise from the table and start to leave the Great Hall. You share arithmancy with Malfoy, right? Hermione immediately levels him with a glare, and before she can start off on a tirade about stalking, Harry cuts her off. He wasn't at dinner last night, and I didn't see him at breakfast. I don't think he even came back to the common room. It all comes out in a rush, and none of it softens the look on Hermione's face. They walked in silence for a while, Hermione pointedly ignoring him with that pinched expression she wears when she's thinking particularly hard about something. They eventually make it to the staircase where they have to part ways. Harry is assaulted with a long, suffering sigh from his friend. You have a free period today, right? A pause for him to nod. I think you should go to the Quidditch pitch and fly for a bit. Clear your head. For a second, Harry is filled with an all too familiar rage. This is just like 6th year. He may have been obsessive at the time, but he had been right, and no one had believed him. Harry knows something is wrong with Malfoy. He just knows it. Why can't his friends just trust him, after all they've been through? But just as soon as it comes out, the heat of indignation leaves him. Harry is so tired of being angry. Yeah, alright, you're probably right, Harry breathes out. Even to his own ears, his voice sounds exhausted. Hermione's eyes widen, and she seems to realize just how upset Harry is. She opens her mouth to say something, but Harry is already walking up past the stairs to his first class. Harry absolutely won't deal with this right now, especially since he knows she still won't believe him about Malfoy. Later, Hermione. Hi, I hope you enjoyed. I will post the next chapters probably soon, but don't take my word for it. Thank you for listening to the end, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.